Hi everyone, I'm a day late and I am so sorry, but it's been crazy busy. But that does not mean that I cannot do this on the fly, which is what we're doing. So today we're going to be talking about communication. This week, that's our topic. And we've talked about preparation, we've talked about launching, and now we're going to talk about communication. And there's a bunch of different levels when it comes to communication that I want to make sure you guys have a good handle on when you are running your business. So communication starts with customers, because ultimately at this point, if you don't have a team, that would be the next thing, but customers is where we need to communicate first. And building relationships is a ultimate key part of how your business is going to grow, how you're going to get customers, how you're going to get repeat customers. And so communication needs to be a key and vital component of your everyday business running. Okay? Communication, business relationships, building relationships, that kind of thing is all in the same category. And you're going to do it either face-to-face, through email, through texting, through Facebook Messenger, through Instagram, YouTube, all of these social platforms, as well as phone, texting, and face-to-face. When we communicate, it's so vital. So vital. Sorry about that, guys. It is so vital that you gain trust in the first 30 seconds. People buy from people they trust. And I think I've said that before, but it is absolutely the truth. And in order to gain people's trust, you need to be authentic, you need to be transparent, you need to be accountable. All of those things need to happen in order for somebody to trust you to be somebody that they want to work with, right? So when you're authentic, you are speaking the way that you would speak, not speaking the way someone else would, but speaking the way that you would speak, right? If you don't normally say things like wahoo, then you're not going to see wahoo. You're not going to say wahoo. Sorry, I'm distracted by that. You're going to be in a conversation mode that is natural for you, okay? People can sense when you're being fake, when you're being canned. When I say canned, I mean by having a scripted message that you're providing, whether it's face-to-face or in text, right? So important that you be authentic to who you are in your vocabulary, in your tone, in your cantation. When you speak and you have a monotone level of speaking and you don't alternate in your voice, people will disconnect because it's boring, right? But if you share your excitement and you share how you feel when you're talking, people are going to be more engaged. They're going to be more apt to say, that person is pretty passionate about what they're talking about. I want to listen to that, right? There's a big difference. But at the same token, it needs to be natural to you. So if you're a fairly monotone person, then you're going to need to practice being a little bit more excited, a little bit more tone differential, so that there's a little bit of fluctuation in your tone, okay? Because when we talk in a monotone voice, it becomes very boring to those that are listening, and it does not have any effect on our emotions other than boredom, okay? So that's one thing. Being authentic means using vocabulary that is natural to you and accustomed to you. Not trying to use big words or things that other people use just because it sounded good coming out of them doesn't mean it's going to sound good coming out of you. Okay? I always love to introduce or interject a little bit of humor if you have some of that. Making fun of yourself sometimes can be humorous as long as you can take it and it's not degrading of who you are. So being authentic is going to be extremely vital to the communication skills that you gain to be able to talk to people no matter what platform it's on, whether it's face-to-face or texting. Texting is even harder because a lot of times we lose our incantation, our fluctuation of our voice in the text on a page, and it will get read differently than you could have potentially written it. So that's something that you have to be careful of. That's why being on the phone or face-to-face is always going to be the best communication. So authenticity is super important. Okay, transparent, that's going to be super important. Why? Because that's where some of that trust level is going to come from. Being transparent means that you're being a bit vulnerable, and if you're afraid to have that conversation, tell them. Say, you know what, I am nervous about having this conversation, but I want to have this conversation with you because I really feel that you would benefit from XYZ, whether it's the opportunity or the product. Okay? So being authentic is vital, but being transparent goes right along with that. And so that means that you are honest about how things have been in your business so that they can either relate to you or know that you've overcome those things. You know, how often have I shared that I struggled at one point in my business with being burnt out and being bored, and saying to myself, you know what, I either need to step up my game or I need to step out. And knowing that I've overcome that and I'm sitting here still talking to you guys is authentic. It's being vulnerable. It's being honest with my audience in a way that could benefit them. I don't mean being vulnerable and complaining. That is not what I mean. Do not sit there and complain about something without turning it around and being vulnerable to the fact that you overcame it. So don't share things if there are just complaints. Share things if they are showing a benefit, okay? Or overcoming an obstacle. So that's why people say you should share your story, because a lot of times our story is a story of overcoming some type of obstacle, frustration, disbelief, right? All of those things are part of our story potentially. And they're not all sad stories. Mine's not a sad story. You know, I started this as a hobby. That was my disbelief. For the most part, I just wanted to do this as something to fill some time. And over time, I realized that it could be something so much bigger until I stepped into it and said, okay, let's do this. You know? So that is the obstacle, which was my own mind and thinking that it was just going to be something to fill time, versus overcoming it, which said and realized that I could do this and that I was going to make it happen, and I stepped into it. Okay? So, authenticity, being able to show who you are, being authentic to who you are, being transparent with who you are, those are all forms of valid and beneficial communication with people, no matter how you're delivering it, through text or voice. Now, how do you start conversations with people? The best way to do it is to compliment them. Those are really cute earrings. Love those. You know, being authentic ultimately means starting with you. Meaning starting with not shop, not talking shop. I don't know if you've ever heard that before, but not talking about your business. Creating that 30-second trust level is communicating with somebody that you don't know, that you want to build trust with. I mean, the only way that you can do that is ultimately starting a conversation. If you start with a sales tactic and you start with a sales conversation, you are going to turn them off quicker than you can flip a switch. It's inevitable, and you don't want to do that. Okay? So building relationships means that you need to start off the relationship with that 30-second trust level. And the best way to do that is to make them feel important, honored, and respected. Make them feel honored, valuable, and respected. Not you, because it's not about you. It's about them. Honored, valuable, and respected. Right? And a good way to do that is to compliment them, because they're feeling honored, they're feeling respected, and they're feeling valuable, that they have something that you like. Okay? I have tons of videos on building relationships. If you want to go and find them, go look for them, building relationships. But I think that it's super important when we understand how we're presenting ourselves and how we are creating that 30-second trust bond with somebody. And the best way to do that is to be authentic with yourself. Don't script things, guys. There is a time and a place for scripting, but it ain't most of the time. So I really think that, you guys get me authentically here. I'm very vulnerable, when I'm coughing or yawning or the furnace turns on or things happen, the dogs start barking. I'm authentic. I am very transparent, and I'm going to be as, much me as I possibly can. I couldn't think of the words. I'm sorry. See, there's another vulnerability spoken there. I want you guys to understand that the more natural you make yourself, the more received you will be. And I see it all too often where people say, well, I'm not getting anybody, I'm not recruiting anybody, I'm not getting any parties. Well, share with me how you're presenting that to people. Share with me that. Tell me how you are presenting that opportunity to people. What does that sound like coming from you? And I will tell you that most of the time, it's going to sound canned and unauthentic, unnatural, and very salesy. That's when we sound salesy, is when we come across as pushy, salesy people, which is why I'm always saying to people, share, don't sell. Share the product, don't sell it. Share the opportunity, don't sell it. Because when you are in sharing mode, your mind goes into this authentic place of valuable information that is being shared because you've used it, you've experienced it, you've seen what it can do, how it can do it. And so therefore, you are sharing an experience with them versus a product or versus an opportunity. And when you're sharing experiences with people, it's so much more authentic, so much more valuable, so much more transparent. Okay? I'm hoping that you got something out of this. You might need to replay it and listen to it again so that you really grasp what I'm trying to hand out here. And that is to be you. Communication is best received when you are you. When it's natural. When you're vulnerable. When you are authentic. when you are genuine. Okay? Think about that this week. I'm going to be bringing up some more topics around communication that I'm going to share with you later this week. Hopefully you have watched the first 2 series. There were a couple videos for preparation. There was one for launch, and there's going to be a couple with communication as well. I want you to work on practicing communication skills. Find a friend, be authentic with them, okay? And ask for their opinions on how you sound, how it makes them feel, because those are the things that you're going to need to translate to strangers and to other people when it comes to sharing your experience of your product and your business and your opportunity. Okay? All right, guys, I will see you on the next video. Have an amazing day.